Hello there, today we are discussing some of the hard truths about being a pro photographer, and if you're a creative person generally, a lot of this will apply to you too. So, come with me. Before we get going today, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a domain name, a website, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Now, we all instinctively know this, but we love authenticity. We can sniff it out a mile away, and we want to listen to and be around people that are authentic, the people that cut through the bullshit. The problem is, when it comes to making money from doing something that you love, authenticity can be hard. Professional or not, we go to a lot of effort to make our photographs, and if we're honest with ourselves, we actually want people to see them at the end. As we start to think about making money from our photography, getting this attention for our work becomes absolutely essential. It's because attention equals success, though, that we start to see some shady and dishonest behaviours. Some people are quite happy to cheat and steal, and there's also those who will try and derail us with negative, passive-aggressive attitudes designed to knock us down. So, if being authentic and positive is something we are interested in, how do we go about getting shit done? I get contacted by so many people asking how they can make money from their photography because they love it and they want to follow their passion. Despite pro photography being more competitive than ever, it's still something I encourage people to try. But the biggest piece of advice I can offer is don't follow your passion. Follow your craft. The good news is that you don't have to be the best photographer in the world to be successful or to make money from it. It does, however, require a lot of hard work and some business and marketing skills. But by keeping your main focus on developing your craft, it virtually ensures authenticity. Craft is everything. It means people see how much you care about your work. They see your dedication and know you are delivering your absolute best. Crafting something special is ultimately more rewarding too, and consistently following your craft and being authentic, over time it will build your reputation and respect. And if you can be a nice person and positive at the same time, then that's a bonus. The other piece of advice I always give is to build up your photography business on the side. Apart from the obvious financial risks, the main reason for this, and the very hard truth, is that chasing your dreams and following your passion is not necessarily going to make you happy, at least in the short term. It's also not going to guarantee success. I take a lot of inspiration from super successful sports people like Lewis Hamilton or Michael Jordan. These people who are so dedicated to their craft, it appears they've received a calling. The thing they all have in common as well is they don't seem particularly happy. I saw the snooker player Ronnie O'Sullivan interviewed the other day, and he said once when he won a major championship, when everyone was sort of congratulating him afterwards, during an interview he had to pretend to be happy when really he was furious with himself because he hadn't played as well as he could have done. I find this single-minded focus on their craft inspiring. Whilst I'm not cursed with being a perfectionist, I do very deeply care about my craft. I'm sure so many of you feel this too, and it doesn't get talked about much, but I don't always enjoy it while I'm out doing landscape photography. I'm so focused on my craft that very often the only thing I care about is making the best possible photograph I can. On days when it's just not happening, I also get very frustrated and angry with myself. This happened to me a few years ago in Glencoe when the snowy conditions were absolutely perfect for photography, but the driving conditions were awful. It was stressful, and there's also hundreds of other photographers in the usual spots, and that always kills my buzz. I got really down. I was feeling like I wasn't going to be able to craft something, and it was only after a pep talk from Lyle and we escaped the mass of people that I managed to bring it round and capture something. It wasn't until we got back to our cottage that night with the images in the cam that I could really appreciate the day for how good it had been. This really comes down to short-term versus long-term happiness. Short-term happiness is like being on a roller coaster. It's immediate and fun, and it makes us happy, but we won't remember it in our final days. The thing that makes us happy in the long term are often things that are hard to do at the time. When I look back at my days of doing landscape photography, they're often filled with challenges, bad weather, a sore back, and that sole focus on craft. But now the memory of them provides an unrivaled fulfillment and happiness. This is the truth with being a pro photographer too. A lot of the people that speak to me about it are looking for an escape from their existing job as they feel stuck in the rat race. This is even more so the case now with the pandemic, which has literally confined us to our own homes and forced us to look inward and confront whether or not that we're living our lives in a meaningful way. I'm now at the 3-year point of being a full-time photographer. It's been an amazing ride so far, but it's certainly not an escape from anything. Running your own business is stressful, it's time-consuming, there's very little security, and it's often all that you can think about. It's also the hardest I've ever worked, and it can also be extremely lonely. If you're considering trying to make it as a pro photographer, I think these are important things to consider before you make the leap, but they're also just the short-term challenges. What you gain in return is the control over your own life, the flexibility to operate outside the 9-to-5 rat race, and the privilege of being able to commit yourself to your craft. By being disciplined day to day and managing the short-term struggles, the long-term payoff is infinitely more rewarding, as well as knowing I'm making things and being creative in the process. And for me at least, this provides a strong sense of meaning, fulfillment, and therefore well-being. Now, I have made a lot of mistakes along the way, including not always focusing on my craft, but one of them is so big that I suspect it's the reason why many people fail or give up on their dream. Before we move on to that, as you know, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is just the perfect place to register a domain name, build your website, or then turn that into an online store. And it's just so easy to do. You can sign up for a free trial and then immediately start bringing in some of your pictures. And with the beautiful templates that they've got that you can choose from, there's some dedicated for photographers. You can stick your photos on there. It'll look great. It will be modern looking. It will fit on all devices without you having to do anything. And with your stuff on there and a bit of writing from you as well, it's going to be totally unique for you. And it just works. But if you're thinking about being a pro photographer, then you absolutely need a website, and Squarespace is, for me, definitely the place to be. So you can go to squarespace.com to start your free trial today, and then if you like what you have come up with and you decide to go ahead, then use the offer code FIRSTMAN to get 10% off your first purchase. All throughout my life, I've been absolutely dreadful at job interviews. I always liked to think it was because I didn't like explaining myself, but the truth is, I always made the naive mistake of expecting them to take a chance on me, just based on my potential or good ideas. What is absolutely essential, alongside working on your craft, is developing your self-awareness. In the case of the interviews, what I'd failed to do was understand what it was that I was actually offering them. No one's going to make an investment in you based on your potential. You've got a good idea, no one cares. What people care about is what you can do, what results you can bring to the table, and how you can execute on ideas. There's also thousands of people taking brilliant pictures, so it has to be about more than just that too. Self-awareness is critical across the board. If you're looking at going pro, you need to know simple things like, are you going to work hard enough to make it a success or even just viable? Are you willing to accept financial risks? If you're married and you have kids, are your family prepared to make the sacrifice with you? Because they will have to if you're going to make a business work long term. It's then just about getting practical, doing business development and bringing the work actually in the door. Approaching anyone, you have to understand the exchange. What value are you bringing to them to expect them to give you money for your services? This is where it comes back to craft too. When dealing with a potential client, the intention in your mind is really important. If your only intention is to get money or a nice opportunity out of someone, then they will smell it from a mile away, and it's unlikely they will ever respond to you. Because craft is number one, we should be thinking about how we can provide this person with the best possible photographs, video, or any other product or service you provide, and we have to make it matter to them. The money then just becomes a byproduct of this process. We want our clients and customers to feel they're getting something special and we're delivering something of real value to them. We want to pique people's curiosity by showing them what we can do rather than just expecting them to do us some kind of favor. We should apply this level of self-awareness to people's time too. So where do we get started? How do we build up experience or the portfolio to actually be able to show people what we can do? This is where building up your business on the side is so important. It means we can build the experience slowly without taking crazy financial risks. One classic way is to offer to be a second shooter or an assistant. Just be very aware though that if you offer this to another photographer, you're probably not offering them any value. It's very unlikely they need you, and essentially you're asking them to provide you with an education opportunity for free. If you go down this route, it's vital to do your homework and figure out what a particular photographer needs and how you can provide them with something they don't already have. I find it really uncomfortable actually asking for things. So a big part of my approach was to build my brand and build my business so people came to me. This channel was a big part of that, and for about 2 years I made nearly 200 videos with very little to show for it in return. The first money from the channel I ever made was from Amazon affiliate marketing. They sent me a check to the tune of $1.76. And I remember feeling very proud of that because before that I had absolutely nothing. In fact, rather than cashing that check in, I kept it, and it's now pinned up on my wall above my desk as a reminder to myself to stay humble, work hard, and keep pushing forward. If you're grafting and putting yourself out there, eventually momentum will start to build. But another truth is that there is no such thing as a big break. I actually think the very concept of this can be dangerous because it suggests that we only need to work up to a certain point until we've suddenly made it. There are snakes in the grass too, and some people will try and take advantage of you with the promise of a big break. I remember 4 or 5 years ago when Instagram was still pretty cool, I got really excited when Canon UK shared one of my images. I got so excited, in fact, I felt like it was some kind of big break, and even text my mate saying, Canon are aware of me. I had similar feeling the first time one of my videos got shared to one of the big blog sites too. They have huge audiences, and I'm always grateful when they share my work, but it's not a big break. There are significant milestones and key relationships you build along the way, but I simply do not believe in the big break. It's much more an accumulation of years of hard work, getting noticed now and again, and making the most of opportunities that starts to create the snowball effect. Whether professional or not, for me this always comes back to being authentic. Pursuing a craft is an emotional roller coaster that requires a high level of self-awareness. But ultimately, if we work hard, accept that we're fallible and that we'll make mistakes, then it's going to provide a long-term feeling of well-being and fulfillment. Because we know we're being true to ourselves, then the knock-on effect of that is that other people will see it too. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you did, subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, you can check out my first book that's now available for pre-order on the link down below. But I'll see you again very, very soon. I'm Adam. This is First Man Photography. Out.